In this video, I'm gonna share my top 5 sales prospecting tips you can use to explode your sales. What's going on, everybody? Patrick Dang here. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, and let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, the first tip that I have for you is you're gonna want to leverage the most effective communication channel for your specific industry. So when it comes to sales prospecting, right, depending on what you're selling, whether it's a SaaS product, technology, consulting services, right, it doesn't really matter what it is, but you have to understand what the best channel is for you, right? So if you're selling, let's say, something to real estate agents, you might find that cold calling works extremely well. Or if you're selling marketing consulting services, maybe using LinkedIn is very effective to reach out to, let's say, small, medium businesses, or let's say coaches that you want to help market, right? For other people, maybe you're selling a software product and you're going after many different industries and you just want to get your foot in the door in each one. Cold email might work better because you scale a lot faster, right? Every cold outreach method has their own strengths and weaknesses, and everyone is going to work differently depending on your industry. So the first tip I have for you is you need to understand which one actually works in your industry. Don't do cold calling if everyone else is doing something else and that's working and nobody cold calls, unless you got something unique and you can get results. But if not, don't waste your time trying to fit a square into a circle, right? And the best way to figure out if a prospecting channel is going to work for you is you want to do a little research on Google or watch different interviews to see how your competitors are generating leads, right? So you might want to find who's the top people in your industry, watch interviews on YouTube or Google it with their CEO or their VP of sales, director of sales, and try to get a glimpse of how exactly they generate leads. Because a lot of times you might be able to find all this information just from an interview. They might spill the beans and maybe only like 1,000 people watch that interview and you can be one of them, and you start understanding like, oh, they're using cold email, I'm gonna do cold email too, right? So you don't have to reinvent the wheel, especially if there are already people that are successful doing it better than you. You just gotta follow in their footsteps and find how it can work for you. And when it comes to, let's say, Google, right? Like literally just type in what is the best way to generate leads in X industry, right? And just start with that. And you start Googling different terms, and key terms are variations of that, and you're gonna start to see what actually works. Tip number 2 is you want to take ownership as a professional seller. So whether you are an entry-level salesperson or you're someone more experienced, or maybe you're a founder and you have to do your own sales, no matter what it is, you want to adopt the mindset of an owner or even like a CEO, even if you are just an entry-level salesperson. You want to think of it like this, like as a salesperson, you are a professional seller who represents a company. You are the face of that company to your potential prospects, right? And so you're the person that has to take responsibility over your territory. You're gonna have to take responsibility over the results you generate and how much sales you generate. You don't wanna blame it on your boss. You don't wanna blame it on the market and this and that. You are the sole person that should take responsibility. And by putting on the responsibility on your shoulders, you're being forced into a situation where you have to grow and get better if you're gonna want results. Now, people who make a lot of excuses and they complain, those people probably won't get too far, especially if they're entrepreneurs. How many entrepreneurs do you know complain and make excuses that got very far in their career? Probably none. Same with salespeople, right? You are responsible for your own success. Although, other people can help you, think of it like the CEO, right? You're the ones that pulling resources here and there. You're deciding how you want to spend your time, and you're deciding which direction you want to go. Now, tip number 3 that I have for you is you're gonna want to block your prospecting time. Now, when it comes to sales prospecting, you're essentially generating meetings, right? And where I see most people make the mistake is they don't block their time, right? So meaning, they should be making calls in the morning. They should be, reaching out to different people, but maybe someone schedules a meeting on their calendar at 9 a.m., right in the middle of their prospecting time. Or maybe, another person wants to do this thing over here and they have this administrative work to do. So if you let these things kill you, it's kind of like a death by 1,000 cuts, right? Although these little meetings here and there might seem like very little in the moment, over time it really stacks up and sucks your time away from your actual job, which is to do sales prospecting, right? So what I would recommend is you want to time block your calendar. So you might say something like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Nobody can bother me. All I'm going to be doing is talking to customers. If you want to have a meeting with me, after 12 and I'd be happy to do it, but 8 to 12, this is my block, right? And whether you are a founder or you're a salesperson, you wanna do the same thing. And if you have a boss who may not like it, you gotta communicate with them and say, hey, look, I wanna get results for you. I wanna do good for the territory. Let me block out this time, and anything we need to do outside of that, like admin work, meetings, let's do it after, but let's make sure we generate the sales. And if you come from that perspective, it's hard for people to say no. They respect your hustle. They respect that you wanna put in the time. They respect that you're willing to block out this time out of your calendar so that nobody can bother you, and that's how you're gonna get results. Time block the things that are extremely important and do the rest of the stuff later at the end of the day or some time else on the weekend, but not during your best prospecting hours. Tip number 4 is you want to focus on finding and solving pain. Now, as a sales prospector, it's your job to find these companies who might be a potential fit to buy your product and service. Now, how you want to do that is you don't want to just go in the phone book and just start dialing A to Z, because how do you even know that the people you're trying to reach out to have a problem that you can solve? So even if you reached out to them, will they even buy? Probably not. So when you're doing your research and you're coming up with different ideas, different campaign ideas of who you should be reaching out to, the first step of making this process work is identifying a problem that someone probably has. You don't know 100% that they have that problem because you haven't talked to them yet, but you want to, have an educated guess based on your research online and seeing maybe what software they use and things like that, and seeing, do they maybe have a problem? And you want to start there. People who have a problem, have a certain pain, and the people who have pain are more likely to buy because people want to escape pain and they want to move towards pleasure. So if your product or service gets them away from pain and moves them to pleasure, they're a lot more likely to take a meeting with you. They're a lot more likely to buy from you. But without that pain, there just isn't a sale. How many people do you know buy an expensive product or service for no reason? Nobody, right? There has to be a reason for someone to buy. And the easiest way to identify what that reason is what problem do you have? What are you facing on a day-to-day basis that you wish would just go away? And you're trying to match your product or service as a solution to their pain. How can you solve their problem? And if you communicate that through your cold outreach, whether it's on the phone, through email, LinkedIn, whatever it is, that is what you want to communicate in your message to, increase the chance someone is actually going to book a time to talk on your calendar. And tip number 5 is don't be desperate. Now, people have this second sense, or maybe it's just your subconscious, and they can feel when a salesperson is desperate, right? You don't want to be that salesperson, who's at the end of the week, end of the quarter, you're like, oh my God, I need to hit my number. And, oh, do you want to buy? It's like, take a step back and relax, right? Number one, don't let a number rule your life, and don't let a number deem your worth as a human being, right? Whether you hit your quota or not, who cares? You are who you are. The quota is just, a reflection in numbers, but just because you don't hit your quota doesn't mean you're not a good person, right? It just separate the two, first of all. Second, if you even want to hit your quota, you want to hit certain sales goals, you want to make sure you don't come off as desperate, because typically the more you want something, a lot of times the less it actually happens, because people feel like, oh my God, this guy's pushing, he's coming on too strong, like something must be weird. Maybe he's trying to rip me off, or maybe he's trying to do something shady. And people can't feel that. They may not, get their finger quite on it, but they feel something is off, and they feel like, something doesn't feel quite right when somebody's too desperate. It's the same exact thing with dating, right? When someone's pushing too strong, you're just like, whoa, what is going on? Calm down. So same exact thing. So whatever you are selling, don't act too desperate. And the best way to remove that sense of desperation of like, oh my God, I want to close my deals and hit my number, is you're going to want to fill your pipeline with a bunch of new opportunities, right? So think about it like this. If you are a salesperson and you just got people lining out the door ready to talk to you on the phone to buy something, why would you be desperate? You're not going to be desperate at all, because there's no reason for you to be desperate in that situation, because if someone doesn't buy, you move on to the next one. If that person doesn't buy, you move on to the next one. If you got a line out the door of people waiting to buy from you, well, you got nothing to worry about, right? And so that's why sales prospecting is gonna be so important. So if you follow all these tips, you should have a pipeline full of opportunities so that you don't become desperate and you can just keep going through these prospects, qualify them, and eventually get the sale. So with that said, those are gonna be my best tips when it comes to sales prospecting. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications if you wanna see more videos like this. And I got a free training about how to sell anything to anyone. So if you're looking to start and accelerate your sales career, make sure to check the link in the description to check that out. My name is Patrick Deng, and I will see you guys in the next one.